Hello, my friends. This is the podcast that brings the wealth of knowledge, expertise, and fun of Twin Smoke Shop, New England's premier smoke shop, right to you, wherever you are, whenever you want it. And that's not just blowing smoke. You can find us at our website, notjustblowingsmoke.com, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Not Just Blowing Smoke.
Cool breeze in my head, bittersweet smoke flying through the air. It's the way I feel, smoking on a fast cigar.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Not Just Blowing Smoke. I am your host for tonight. Danny is unavailable at this event. At this moment. It is now Friday the 13th at Twin Smoke Shop, and I keep forgetting to look at the camera here, and I always look at the screen, and I apologize. So, I am your host, Nick O'Teen. Got my co-host here, the production manager.
Dazed and Confused.
And we got our special guest, Mike, and then we have another special guest, Pat. Pat is back on the show.
Pat Wente. Yay.
Pat Wente is back. And the special guest is Mike Rosales. If you guys don't know him, he is RoMa. He is the Ro and RoMa Craft. And we have General Manager Sean here handing out these drinks. We got our drinks here. The pairing that we're going to be doing with the cigar tonight is going to be Old Forester 1920. So, Mike.
Well, tell us about the cigar we're smoking.
Yeah. So, we have the Volstead Intemperance.
Yeah, Senator Volstead.
Yeah. It's going to be the Volstead. You got a Sumatra wrapper on there?
We do. Yeah, it's an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper. Hybrid. Yep.
And what else have we got on here?
San Andreas binder, right?
Yeah, San Andreas binder.
Is it Nicaraguan, Cadega, Esteli, not Jalapa,
Whoa.
or maybe Jalapa. There's three Nicaraguans. There's another one. It's a region that I don't see often. It begins with like an A, maybe. I don't know.
Is it Pueblo Nuevo?
You guys were more prepared than I was.
Yeah, man, he's close. He's getting there.
He's got the Esquire at the end of his name now, so he's.
I know it's all Nicaraguan filler. It's like 3 or 4 regions.
Okay. I mean, it's beautiful. That's it. That's all we have to go with.
You like it?
I love it. So when it first got into the walk-in, I mean, we had just the one size, which was the smaller size. Then the other, was it 56 ring gauge? Or 58 ring gauge?
No, the first one you would have gotten
Remus
was Remus. So it would have been the blind pig would have been the first.
Okay. Yep. We got that one.
You would have gotten the box press, which would have been the Noble Experiment.
Yep.
And then we kind of rolled out from there. You know, the Remus and the rest of the Corland stuff.
Yep.
So
when it came into the walk-in, I mean, I was a little skeptical on it, and I was like, what's this all about?
Okay.
And then when I smoked it, I was hooked.
Okay, so we got Seco Jalapa. We have Seco Dominican Penuela Carrillo 98. Viso Pueblo Nuevo. And we have Ligero Condega.
That's nice.
There you go. It's the official blend.
The official blend right there.
Yeah. So
that's beautiful.
You can only see it if the iPhone recognizes your face. That's how locked down.
Yes. So with the headphones on and the glasses, sometimes it doesn't do it.
Yeah. So if anyone wanted to try to steal my blend sheet,
that's it.
Yeah. So top secret.
They would have to get your face and then open your phone.
The funny thing about it is, though, man, it's like, listen, I could give everyone the same amount of tobacco and say, hey, go make a cigar.
Yeah.
And it would all come out different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's, it's like if we said, hey, let's make a hamburger or a steak or whatever, like everybody's steak would come out tasting completely different, even with the same ingredients. And everyone's got a different process, right?
I mean, if I was making a burger, it'd be really rare. It'd be like almost not even cooked. It was, it'd be really bloody. The same thing with the steak.
Just a small sear on the outside.
Just look, a 2-second sear. Yep. 2-second sear, and that's it. That's my burger. That's my steak.
Okay. What about your bacon?
Bacon is crispy.
Okay.
Which is weird because I like a lot of my meats kind of medium rare. But my bacon has to be crispy. Okay, like when I have my bacon and eggs in the morning, has to be crispy.
See, I like it chewy with crisp on the outside.
I like it crispy.
I kind of think it depends. My fear is like if it's not cooked enough, I don't want to get sick. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So
true.
I can't have flimsy bacon. It's like
it's
a little sketch for me. What about you?
Honestly, I
You don't need bacon?
No, I love bacon. I don't think I've had bacon
like,
I
it
don't
doesn't-
like.
it doesn't
You wouldn't
fit-
be on the podcast.
It doesn't fit.
Yeah,
It
right?
doesn't fit my macros. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't think I've had a piece of bacon that I don't like.
Okay. What about burger? How do you like your burger?
Probably medium rare. I like a little bit of pink. Well, a good amount of pink, like kind of a cold center.
Okay.
But it can't be like. I don't like when it's bloody though. It's weird. I'm like in the middle.
So you're like medium.
Well, medium.
Medium is like a little
rare, but I've had it where it's not been bloody.
Yeah.
Like
Well, that's like
medium
it's more
rare,
medium
close
than
to
it is
medium.
medium rare
Like
at that
medium
point.
rare
Where it's a
or-
nice soft pink. It's not like
Yeah.
bloody. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you on that. That's how I like my burger. Definitely.
Hey.
You said soft pink.
Soft pink.
Everybody loves a soft
Okay,
pink.
so
Little Don Johnson.
before you jump into your burger,
Oh,
you
too
gotta
late
give
for that.
Your smell, you gotta.
Oh, we got to go through the process
Oh,
here.
this is the wrong one.
We got to
This
get
is-
the.
This is the.
Oh, you
yeah,
got
yeah.
the sunscreen one.
Yeah,
The sunscreen. So
Yeah.
how'd that go?
You definitely, it definitely stands out.
Taking a big whip of that.
So what do you think of the Old Forester? I haven't had this one yet.
Oh no, Old Forester puts out some good stuff, man. It's
I've had
quality.
the other ones. I haven't had the 1920.
Reminds
Also
you
the
of
1920.
Old Forest
Of an Old Forest, not so much.
or an Old Forester?
Not so much.
Okay. I think it definitely is a more traditional bourbon, right? Like
Yes.
it's I think it's a classic.
Yeah.
It's got the right amount of smell. It's not too hot. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? What is this? 100 proof?
It is 100 proof.
Boom.
Cheers, mates.
Cheers.
Salute.
Weepy Psycho. That is really, really nice.
Yeah, it's smooth. There's not a lot of heat kind of going down.
Yeah.
So it's like it's got enough body on the front part. But there's no real burn on. Oh, he's looking like he's about to. You gonna throw up? Don't throw up.
What? I'm fine. I'm enjoying
I
this.
hope not.
Yeah, it didn't look like a
Oh.
face of enjoyment, did it?
It didn't.
It did. Yeah, really? It's kind of what it looked like.
I mean, it kind of smooths out the cigar a little bit. I mean, it kind of, for me, it kind of takes away a little bit of that intensity of the pepper and the sweetness, but it kind of smooths everything out in the cigar.
I'm gonna get mine lit while you talk. Go ahead.
Oh, yes,
Keep it
please.
going. Yeah, man, I got to toast it up.
Um,
Get it nice
But
and
with the
right.
drink, the cigar, you get, well, for me,
A lot of tobacco notes.
you get a lot of tobacco notes,
Is it well fermented tobacco?
well fermented. A good amount of sweetness you get in the drink with the cigar. Some chocolate on the back end, light cocoa on the back end. That's nice. It's a really good pairing. I mean, it's kind of like my first sip was kind of contrasting, but a couple sips in and a couple pulls in the cigar, it kind of really goes really well with them.
Well, I think there's a couple things, right? So because of the exposed foot of the cigar, on the initial kind of light, like it's real kind of bitey, right? And then whenever it hits the wrapper leaf, it kind of transitions in. You get a little bit more of the sweeter notes. It kind of pulls in.
Yeah.
And then when you get a little sip of the bourbon, like it kind of brings it all together, right? So I think, if you're, a lot of people, unfortunately, whenever they drink, or when they smoke, they don't really pay attention to a lot of the notes. They just kind of go into it. You know what I'm saying? So this kind of gives you an opportunity to kind of sit back and kind of enjoy something that's not too heavy, right? I mean, I think if you were to get over, like a 120 proof,
Yeah.
it may not pair that well, right?
No.
But since it's like a nice medium cigar,
Yeah.
and you have a nice medium kind of bourbon at 100 proof, I think you get a nice complement between the two. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. It's definitely. I mean, I went through the unfinished foot before I had a sip of the drink, so I didn't get like the initial impression. So I
Yeah.
had the wrapper to factor in. And honestly, I think it's pretty complimentary. I think it takes out the stimulation of the spice and the retrohale, but you still have that texture, but you get a lot more of that flavor.
I got
and
you.
To me, it's kind of like a rye kind of spice.
Yeah.
It's kind of grainy and it's really thick on your palate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the rye part. I'm
Yeah.
totally feeling that.
And then like on the tip of my tongue, it leaves a kind of like I'll call it like a floral kind of sweetness.
Yeah.
That just kind of lingers there.
In the back of my jowls, I get some really my jowls. I get some really intense sweetness with the drink and the cigar.
Yeah. What's funny is the best way I've had it put to me is like it's decadent.
It's decadent.
Yeah, like it has this long finish. You know what I mean? Like it's not real earthy. It's not heavy. It's not, it just has like this decadent kind of flavor. It's hard to, at least for the cigar, right? Like the cigar, like it just has this long finish that without having like, it's too overpowering. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's very
When I
like
smoke the glass, I get a lot of like a ginger cinnamon on the finish.
Yeah.
it's very assertive on the draw, but then through the finish, it's very balanced and just clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much. And it's not a heavily complex cigar. It gives you the flavor straightforward. And that's kind of really what I like about it, because when you're smoking it without the drink, for me, you get that intense pepper and sweetness in there. And that's what really attracted me to it, because, I mean, you look at it, and it's kind of a lighter wrapper. It's not like the Aquitaine where it has a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, which is a fantastic smoke. I love that. But this was like, all right, it's going to be almost like a Habano. Even though I knew there was a Sumatra wrapper, it was going to be almost Habano-ish, kind of medium body, not that intense, but it's going to be flavorful. But when I started smoking it, I was like, wow, I was taken back. It was like a flavor bomb just hitting my palate.
I was not expecting this flavor from a Sumatra.
Right.
I think that, so like Habano, especially like in the like Aquitaine that we do, or even the Intemperance that has the Habano, there's like this high twang. And it's hard to, it's like when you smoke it, okay, I know what you're talking about, right? But it's like, it's got a nice bite, it's sharp, and then it has like this back end kind of twang to it, right? And this doesn't have that, right? So it's pleasant along the way.
Yeah.
And so, again, it's not super heavy Ligero, like up front, like a lot of our other cigars that we make. And so I think it really does. It's complementary. It's one of those cigars that I think, it's approachable from any real kind of, cigar smoker, right? Like anybody, whether you're a full bodied guy or you're, more light to medium, I think this cigar kind of complements anybody, kind of like it's more broad as far as who could approach the cigar, right? Yeah. So especially for a lot of cigars that we make, like, you can't say that about Neanderthal and Cro-Magnon. You know what I mean? So, it's
those are more powerhouses in your lineup.
Yeah. And even though the like Cro-Magnon itself is not necessarily it's so robust and rich in flavor from the wrapper leaf, right? Yeah. Like because Aquitaine and Cro-Magnon are the exact same cigar, right?
Yeah, it's just different wrapper.
Our Fomorian, the Candela, is the same cigar, right? So
love the Fomorian.
That's a fantastic cigar.
It is. It's a very good cigar, right? But again, it's a complement to the actual filler that we use. Yep. That you could use it from a very, very light Candela to all the way to a broadleaf and get different experiences throughout each one of the wrapper leaves, right? So this one, the cool thing about the whole Intemperance lineup that we try to set out, it's a sub $10 price point.
Yeah, fantastic prices.
And I think that, from 6 to 10, kind of depending on where you want to, the size that you want and the time length that you want to spend smoking it, it's really a unique cigar lineup because again we have the Connecticut, we have in the EC, we have the Brazilian Maduro and the BA, the Whiskey Rebellion Habano, and then we have now this is Sumatra.
Well, that's the other thing that I love about RoMa Craft is your burn time. Yeah. Like you look at these cigars and they look. Yeah. They look like the biggest one is a Robusto length, but they burn like a Toro or sometimes a Churchill. Sure. Yeah. Like I've had a Bradford that lasted me an hour and a half before. It's great. And so when people like oh that's gonna burn too fast, I'm like no. You'll be all set with that.
Sure. Yeah.
And I used to smoke cigarettes, so when I first started smoking cigars, like Ashton or Atabey or something like that was all lost on me. It was just like smoke. So your Connecticut, the Brotherly Kindness, was one of the first ones I actually enjoyed just as a Connecticut because it had enough flavor. Yeah.
Well, a couple fatties like me and Skip, like you gotta make cigars for that's the thing is that we don't make cigars that we wouldn't smoke. Like if you said, hey, is this cigar good enough that if you only had this cigar, would you smoke it? You know what I mean? Like, and if it's not that level, then we just don't put it in production. You know what I mean? Like it's okay. You go back to the lab and try over again. And so that's kind of the unique thing about us is, we try to make cigars that we smoke, and we're cigar nerds, right? So, nice. Whether it's Ashton or Plasencia or Foundation or Sock, whoever, you know what I mean? Like, I just love cigars, so I'll try anybody's and everyone's. And I think that kind of gives you some insight, like when you're tapped into like what the cigar market community is kind of looking for. And then you try to set something aside and say, what can you offer to the community that's completely different, that if you like these, even though it's different, it would still be in a wheelhouse that you find it pleasant and enjoyable at the price point that is really, exceptional. Because prices of cigars are just continuing to go up, right? So that's kind of our approach to it. So it's nice ash.
I was just about to talk about the construction of RoMa Craft. I think one of the things I noticed through, I've been doing retail for 3 years now, which granted from everyone at the table, that's not nearly as long, but
that's okay.
One of the things like from consumer feedback that I've noticed is a lot of people will tell me like that when they get a RoMa Craft, it's very hard because you have like those people that when they purchase cigars, they kind of do that squeeze test and they say it's like it's overpacked, it's firm, there's no give to it. But the funny thing is like, from my experience smoking RoMa Craft, it's just well filled. Like I think because on the market a lot of times today, like it's not that cigars are poorly constructed, but to me like little underfilled maybe.
It can be. Yeah.
And I just think like this is an example of how a cigar should be constructed.
Absolutely.
You guys won Factory of the Year like a year or two ago, didn't you?
Yeah.
So I mean that's. Yeah, because I'm like all of those cigars at the time were rated like a 90 or better, if I'm not mistaken, and that's why they won Factory of the Year because it was just
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. I mean, that's kind of the neat thing about us is it's like here, right? Like when you have a good staff and a good group of people that work that do everything. Again, Skip and I are just one of the components, right? Yeah. But the team down at the factory level really. And to get buy-in, right? Because it's really, when we went down there in 2012, it's there was a handful of people that came to work for us, and it was like, hey, we're a startup company, and here are the pros and cons of working for a startup company. It could be off to the races, or it could be a fucking complete dud, right?
It can be, yeah.
So you don't really know. Like you hope that you think you're onto something. So anyway, so we started off, very very small, and kind of But every person that came on board, it was like community and family and this environment and culture that you're trying to build in community. That same thing here, right? Because you're only as good as your team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and that was something that was really important to us as far as like creating that structure and creating the whole group of people. And so we're very fortunate. Since 2013, 2012, we've had just a handful of people that have left us, and a lot of them are doing it because. They've either retired or they've graduated or, they've gone to school or, decided to have a family or whatever. But it's a very small percentage of people that have actually left the factory. And the people that have been there from day one are still kind of there, So
awesome.
Very, very blessed, one, I think because we take care of them, we treat them like family and pay them well, what I mean? Like, so there's value in what we're trying to do. So, and it's not a big team. That's a great thing. I think altogether is like 74 people. So it's like,
wow.
We have technically 12 pairs, which is 24 people that actually make the cigars, but you factor in the people that actually do the deveining and do packaging and do all this other stuff. It's about 74 people altogether.
Yeah, wow. So, how did you get started with RoMa Craft?
What's
the story there? Because I never heard the story.
Okay.
If we have enough time, do we have enough time?
Yeah, no, I'll give you the simplified version. So at the time. So I had already started bringing people in cigar rollers, and I was putting them in cigar shops. Okay. So this is about 2006 in the state of Texas. And so I started off with a couple of rollers, and then it kind of grew quickly because once people kind of found out that I was, having cigar rollers, put them in cigar shops and importing tobacco. Skip had a cigar shop in Galveston, and unfortunately it got hit by a hurricane.
Oh.
And so he was kind of he worked for Dell full time, but he was the kind of the guy, he's the whale that would come in and buy, $3,000 worth of cigars a month, right? Yeah. So, anyway, so I kind of valued his opinion, but at the time he was either looking at creating a brand or trying to open up a cigar shop, or was really, he had ran a podcast, or he actually helped out with Doc Stogie Fresh, who was probably the original podcaster out on the West Coast, and he had a multi-vendor event called Crush and Roll, and that was like 2008. So probably like as far as I know, like the very first podcast that actually covered cigars. So anyways, he would go to the trade show and do interviews for him, and so him and Doc were really close. And then he had a blog, and then he smoked a lot of cigars, right? So, super smart guy, Six Sigma kind of guy, and so, here I was kind of struggling, trying to figure out like how to make this all work. And so, anyways, one of the rollers who his name is Raul Diaz, that or Disla, Raul Disla and Esteban Disla. Anyway, so Raul and his brother Esteban worked for Latin Cigars, and the Charana family had brought them over from the Dominican Republic to Nicaragua when they started Latin Cigars. And so when they sold to Scandinavia, Raul was kind of, looking for another thing to do, and Esteban stayed and kind of ran the Scandinavia factory, right? So, which is General. And so Raul came to work for the States. So anyway, Skip had, while he had the shop, would go down and visit Camacho or Rocky Factory and do these kind of tours. And while he was down there, he would pick up, kind of cigars that either were overruns or cigars that were kind of dead projects or, test samples and so he would sell them in a cigar shop, and some of them were really good and some of them were just kind of whatever. But there was one particular one that he liked that he brought to me and said, hey, could you remake this cigar? And we kind of broke it down and dissected it. And was like, and unfortunately in the States, you're kind of really limited to the tobacco that you had. Yeah. And so Raul and I had gone back to Esteban, who was in the Nicaragua, and I went to visit Chris Kelly. I was down there to buy like bulk tobacco. And so we had actually created a Cro-Magnon version, and so we kind of started smoking on it, and it was completely different than the cigar he had given me, but I think it was better. And so he's like, dude, this is a game changer, because back then, so you're talking about 2012 at this time, 2010, 2011. All right. And he's like, there's nothing on the market like this, right? Because it was real toothy, raw, but it was just delicious. Right?
There was nothing. Yeah, at that time there was really nothing. Yeah. Nothing that matched that.
And so anyway, he had a big Twitter following, and really all he was doing was just posting pictures of kind of documenting like the journey. Right? Oh wow, yeah. And then because he was down in Galveston, and whenever he got hit by the hurricane, he was using Twitter, because back then no Instagram or Facebook. Yeah. Back then you had to have a university account to get on Facebook. Right?
Yeah, yep. You had to be part of college.
Yeah. So things have changed, So. Anyway, so he was using Twitter as kind of a broadcasting point to kind of talk about like what was going on the island as far as, emergency evacuations and whatever. And people would come in on the cruise ship. So he would, get their Twitter accounts and, hey, follow us on Twitter and, talk about events or whatever. And so anyways, he started kind of documenting the journey of Cro-Magnon and kind of this thing, and that we were kind of, just kind of messing around with. And next thing you know, people started kind of asking me, for the people who had rollers in the cigar shops, like, hey, I'm hearing this buzz about this Cro-Magnon. Like, what is it? Yeah. And so I'm like, dude, like, I think we could actually sell this in the, on the wholesale side. And so, anyways, we launched in 2012 in Orlando, and off to the races has been ever since. So
that's incredible, man.
That's a super condensed version.
That's condensed.
But I mean, there's still, that's like, it's kind of the highlights of how it went down. So
that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
So when did you have your first RoMa?
Oh, it was probably when we hired Danny.
Okay.
Because I didn't know RoMa Craft. So when I came here, I came from a smaller shop. The smaller shop probably had maybe a couple hundred cigars in there. And I still go over there. I love Matty. He's over in Plastow. You should go check him out if you haven't gone over yet. He's a Plastow cigar company. But I used to work there. Then when I came here, we had all those cigars downstairs. We didn't have RoMa Craft. I had no idea what RoMa Craft was. Then a year or two after we hired Danny, he came over from Two Guys. And I think one of his stipulations when he got hired was, if you hire me, we're getting pipes and pipe tobacco and RoMa Craft. He's like, I won't get hired. I won't take the job unless RoMa Craft is here. So once he came in and we got yeah, I swear to God. And that was with the old Sean, with the old manager, that was the stipulation, and that was what he got hired on. So after a couple months he was here, started bringing in RoMa Craft little by little, and that's when I started smoking it. And I'm like, all right, it's something different. It's how could I say this without being crazy? But I mean, it's not like, I mean, it's the cigars, they're so unique with the flavor and the balance in the complexity and the delivery. it's nothing like anything else. A lot of the cigars, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great cigars out there.
Yeah.
I mean, Padron and a Fuente and Liga, and they're great cigars. I have nothing against those guys. But what you guys, what the Intemperance or the Volstead or the Chrome Magnum, all those cigars are just so different in delivery that just get you. And I was hooked. As soon as they brought them in, I started smoking them one by one. I'm like, all right, Whiskey Rebellion, and oh man, I was hooked.
Yeah.
My first was the Neanderthal HN, and then when I was looking at it, I'm like, how do I cut this?
Yes. Yeah. I just sliced it. I just sliced the hole in it.
It took me probably to smoke 10 of them before I could actually get a nice clean using a straight. Because at first I just had to use a V cut. Yeah. Because I would mangle it.
Yeah.
So the first 100 boxes or so that went out, we actually had these handwritten notes that went out. It was like there's a scene in Goodfellas where he's cutting onions and he's using a razor blade.
Yes, in jail.
Yeah, and so we used something like you got to cut it like really thin onions or something like that. And anyways, it came with the razor blade.
Oh yeah.
And so anyway, so that it only takes one person to cut themselves, and then all of a sudden, then just you can't do that. So. But
man.
And anyway, so that was kind of the thing. What about you?
It was probably early when I started here. I can't really pinpoint it, but I know that the HN was the first Roma craft I had. I forget when, because I was smoking them a lot after I had it. It had to have been within the first few months of me being here.
Yeah.
And honestly, at the time, I didn't really appreciate it because I was so new to smoking.
Sure.
I couldn't really tell you the difference between that or a Connecticut cigar, to be honest with you, even though they were completely
You were still
different
green
things.
back then,
but
hadn't had any Fuente yet.
The when we were talking earlier, that Roma craft, the Corona variety pack you guys did was probably the notable moment because at that point I've been smoking for an ample amount of time, and I smoked essentially almost a whole line. I know there's not every cigar's in there, but it's again the Neanderthal was the first one I smoked out of that, and it's just to me it's to categorize Roma craft. I'd have to say simply that they're very potent cigars.
It's Flavor Town.
And it's
I mean, if you're not ready for it, it can take you by surprise for sure.
Yeah, and me as a consumer, I love that, and it's hard even when you have the Intemperance Connecticut. It's to me, everyone nowadays says not your typical Connecticut. It seems like that's the marketing gig for every new Connecticut on the market. But to me,
they're still not like that.
Yeah, but that's the original, not your typical Connecticut, you know. But it has that creaminess, but that creaminess just helps blend together that kind of unbridled flavor that it produces, and so it's just one of those every Roma craft you smoke is just going to be a flavor bomb. It's not to me. It's not just a cigar that I'm just going to get just to sit down and just doze off and just have something to smoke. If I'm mowing the lawn or something, I'm not going to smoke a Roma craft.
Oh, I have in the past. It's a good time, I'll tell you that.
Because to me, you can't not pay attention to it. It's just so, it's there. It's very up forward. So, which is a very good thing. I think it's, again, a lot of brands I smoke, when you get through the first inch of it, you're kind of I kind of get what's going on. You can kind of doze off of it. But with a Roma craft, I feel every draw you have, you have to pay attention because something in it's changing. And it's always, it just doesn't fade out, It's,
no.
I remember, in contrast, I had my worst experience with Roma craft was, and it was the broadleaf knuckle dragger.
Okay.
And it was my first cigar of the day. I just, and that was just a bad idea because I couldn't finish it. It wasn't a bad experience, this is gross or anything like that. I got stoned. It was the first time I'd ever gotten moved by a cigar because, I used to smoke cigarettes, so I'm used to a high level of nicotine and stuff. Well, that cigar kicked my ass.
For the listeners or people paying attention, the Knuckle Dragger is a 4.5 by 52, so it's not a very big cigar.
No, it's a pinky.
No.
You know what I mean? It's just, I was just I had to put it down.
That happens. I can see that. That.
So now that's an after dinner cigar for me. That's what
he learned his lesson.
I learned my lesson.
Well, what's funny is I come across people. I travel all over, right? I was like, man, I start my day with an HN. I'm like, you must be sick in the brain. You know what I mean? That's
how Danny starts his day.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm grateful for them. We sell a lot of them. I mean, at any given time, we have about 500 boxes on back order.
Yeah.
Probably 800 bundles.
It's a popular cigar.
Yeah, it's a very popular cigar. And for a factory that only makes a million cigars a year, if I could make only, if we could only make a million cigars, I could make a million HN or a million premiums.
Yeah.
But so very grateful. However, it's like, you kind of wonder, like, is that something that people will be able to continue to smoke? So does your profile kind of change? Because I felt like as I get older, like this one that we're smoking right now, I can smoke this back to back. I enjoy it. Yeah. Like it's not overbearing. It's not too peppery. It's not.
Yeah.
It's very
medium body cigar.
It's palatable, right?
Yeah.
And I don't like if I were to cut and light, smoke another one, I could do it right after this one, no problem at all. I don't know if I could say that about Neanderthal or Pro Mac.
It's tough. Yeah. It's tough. I can do it because I smoke a lot of cigars and a lot of heavy cigars.
I could.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's a good idea.
I mean, I have done it. I have done it. Yeah. Question for you.
Okay.
That's kind of been on my mind since the brand has hit Twin Smoke Shop's humidor.
Okay.
What's up with the names? Tell me, where'd you guys come up with the names for the cigars? Because you got the Chrome Magnum, the Aquitaine, you got Knuckle Dragger, you got the HN. Where'd you guys come up? What was the process? What was going through your guys? Because it could have been like the rest of the industry where it's like an Epicure or a Toro or Busto or Corona Gorda. What made you guys go, nah, we're not going to do that. Let's do this.
Well, I think the simplest answer is it's like when you peel the onion back, there's lots of layers.
There is.
Right? I mean, like, so if you looked at like the Cro-Magnon, so let me back up. When we first launched, we didn't have bands on our cigars.
Okay.
Number one. And then, we picked like 30 accounts that actually hand sold cigars. So the idea would be, like, they know their consumer base really, really well, that they'd be like, hey, that's in your wheelhouse. I think you would like this.
Right.
And so, however, like the more that they sold, or you come out to an event, they get a bag. It's like, at the end of the day, most of the cigars are, a variation of brown. You know what I mean? Like, so, it's like very, very light brown to like
very dark
beige
brown.
to like dark brown, So after a while, I'm like, we got to get bands because this long term is not the answer. And so, but again, the cigars were made for kind of Skip at the beginning, and he was, kind of, thinking back about it, it was, he had a hard time kind of relinquishing like these cigars are something that I wanted to make for myself to kind of this pathway into the retail marketplace. But then because of the demand and growth that was going on, it quickly became, okay, we got to get bands, we got to get barcodes, and do all the things that retailers are looking for because they, it's difficult. Because so that was kind of the beginning of that process. So the names themselves, Cro-Magnon, when you think about it, it was like rustic and raw, right? Like real toothy, and so we were Skip's house. So back up one more time. So the hurricane had hit his shop.
Yep.
And so there was a lot of things, not a lot, but there were some things that actually they were salvageable. So like the wooden Indians, some cigar boxes, and his have a cigar rug.
Oh yeah.
That once they dry cleaned it or whatever and dried it out. There were things that they kept. So anyways, he converted his garage into like this man cave, dope ass man cave, right?
I would imagine.
Yeah. So, some TVs, full surround sound. Heaters, the whole thing. And so, anyways, it doesn't get super, super cold in Austin, but, during, January, February timeframe, it can get chilly during the nighttime. So anyway, so we would go over there and just kind of smoke in his man cave. And so, I had seen like a record or something. It was like this guy gets punched in the face, like slow motion. And, so the Knuckle Dragger is kind of what we were smoking. And I was like, dude, what do you think about like Hairy Knuckles? And he's like, no, what do you think about Knuckle Dragger? Right? It's like Knuckle Dragger. And then you just kind of this whole play on Cigar Cave.
Yeah. Started snowballing.
And kind of talking about it. And so, anyways, he had this idea, like, what do you think about like using like Cro-Magnon? Because it was early modern human.
Yeah.
So the idea is like if we were to herf, I'm sure each one of us have like a cigar box and a cutter and a lighter, in this community. Right. But if you're not in the community and you were to come across this, you'd be like, either like, oh, that reminds me of my grandfather. That smells nice. Or you get like, the oh, that's so stinky. You know what I mean? Like, so it's one or the other.
Right.
But the community as itself, it kind of was like this early modern human. This EMH, right, which is the size. And so we just kind of played off of it and just kind of grew. And then when we kind of made Aquitaine is a region of France where they found the Cro-Magnon skull. The skull that we use is the actual imprint that they use. The font that we use is like something that you would find in a museum. And so that was kind of the origin story of Cro-Magnon and Cro-Magnon Aquitaine. Right? Okay. So Aquitaine is the same blend as Cro-Magnon. Yep. The Habano Ligero, Cameroon binder, Nicaraguan filler. The broadleaf Maduro, Cameroon, Nicaraguan filler. Right. So anyway, so that was kind of the origin story of Cro-Magnon. So at the time, we were direct to consumers. So he was using Twitter and he was selling direct. Yeah. So we're doing like 5-packs, 10-packs of this Cro-Magnon Aquitaine kind of sampler. It was just Cro-Magnon at the time. And he had sold like 5,000 cigars in a month. And his kids were over there stuffing envelopes. And I was on the phone calling people get their credit card. And, so it's like all through Twitter. So it was wild, right?
Wow.
So,
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, man.
So it's like, hey, just do another 5,000. So January 2010, I'm sorry, December 2010, January 2011, February 2012, around March, I get a phone call from Esteban going, hey, there's no more broadleaf. Oh. So I'm like, hey, Skip, like, there's no more broadleaf. He's like, well, how much money do you need? Like, go buy some more broadleaf. I'm like, it doesn't work that way, So,
yeah, right.
Because, he's a Dell guy, right? So he's processed. He's like, well, how come we run out of broadleaf? And I'm like, well, it's, like, we're just doing small production runs. It's not like, So anyway, so he and I go down in May of 2010 or 11, and it's the first Nicaraguan cigar festival going on. And so we go knock on, he said, I'm going to call Jonathan Drew. He's a buddy of mine. Maybe he'll sell it to us. So anyway, so we go talk to Jonathan. Jonathan's like, you got to talk to Gustavo Cura. He runs Natsa. And, he's the keeper of broadleaf. So we go over and talk to them, which we were already buying it from them, but just in small quantities. And so they're, probably shouldn't say on a podcast because they're, because they're technically they're not allowed to sell people unless you have either you're in the free zone or you have special licenses to be able to buy from the free zone, right? Oh, okay. For tax reasons. Yep. So, anyways, you had a 382 or you had to be free zone. So, anyway, so we go in there. He's like, broadleaf, yeah, I got all the broadleaf you want. So Skip's like, well, let's go shopping, right? Let's go, So. And at this time, so again, Skip's got Dell money, and I've got real estate money. But my real estate money is like it started to dwindle, right? Yeah. So anyways, he's like, yeah, we'll take some of that, we'll take some of this, and we're going, well, what else you got over here? He's like, so we got the Connecticut, and we got the Brazilian Arapiraca, and he's like, well, let's get some of that, right? And I'm like, the guys over there, okay, well, So I think we put our name on like, I don't know, it was like, gosh, I can't even remember. I want to say it was like. Probably like 384 to 125,000 worth of tobacco, raw, right? And I'm like, that's a lot of money.
A lot of pounds.
Yeah, man. So anyway, so like, so when's it gonna be ready? Oh, not till. So this is like May.
Yeah, 2010.
Yeah, January, February. Yep. He's like, well, what do you got now? It's like we got the Connecticut, we got the Brazilian. So he's like, well, we can start making this, and then anyway. So long story short, like that was like. We have like this really long sit down kind of powwow because I'm like, listen, dude, like I've got to get a job. You know what I mean? Like at this point, I've got small kids. Like your kids are grown. You know what I mean? Like they're almost out of high school. Mine are not. So, no, man, we could do this. If we do this right, and navigate through this, and anyway, so we knew that if we worked really hard, put our heads together, we could pretty much solve anything. He's a super smart guy. And so we're very blessed. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. So anyway, so we started the factory. They started rolling and producing the cigars. So we aged, all the thicker, heavier wrapper leaf, we aged 16 weeks. Yep. So Cro-Magnon, Aquitaine, Baca, ages 16 weeks. Neanderthal, 16 weeks. So any of the intemperance lines, we do 12 weeks, right? So if I started, in January 1, like, for example, those 16 weeks is like kind of end of April. Yep. You know what I mean? That's a long time to be parked. So we just use natural time in the scaparate to age themselves. And so most companies have an extractor. So, for example, like if there was wetness in here, there are machines that pull out humidity.
The moisture, yeah.
And so when the cigars kind of get ready to a certain threshold, they'll put them in a machine. The machine reads it, prints out a little printer, and just go into packaging. So you're talking 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like the idea. So being from Texas, we're like low and slow barbecue.
Yeah.
But I could microwave a hamburger. You know what I mean? But it ain't gonna be the same.
No, it's not.
It ain't gonna be the same.
No.
You know. So
Thank you for not.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
So from a consumer perspective, like you go buy a box, like, oh, this year's whatever comes out, and it's like, oh man, if you age this until next year's come out, that's gonna be great. It's like, well, we already do that for you, so it's box ready when you buy it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, anyways, I'm gonna take a drink now because that was a lot of.
Please take a drink.
That was awesome.
So Pat, you have a really long ash on that.
Got a big ash.
He does have a big ash. What do you think of that cigar so far, man? I know it's like kind of, I can't say, I was going to say irrelevant because I already know what you're going to say, but what do you think of the cigar, brother?
It's obviously, it's very good. Let me just take one more draw before I say anything because it's going to go out.
Yep, and you're going to Pat Wente all over the table.
No, your wrapper's still late. You're good.
Now that you jinxed him or whatever.
Oh, there it is. I called it. I called it. I knew it was going to happen, man.
It still held. Wow.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was picture worthy. I just didn't do it.
Oh, well, we got it on video, so.
On video, baby.
Yeah, so it just goes to like the statement I said earlier about like focusing on the cigar when you smoke RoMa. It changed. Like right now, like the back third of it, it has. Is it a Dominican Ligero that's in there, or is it?
No, it's SLE. No, it's not SLE. It's a Nicaraguan. Yeah.
Because it's like with me, like
Ligero Condega.
Usually when you get towards the back third of a cigar, you know, it gets bitter. Not that it's bitter is bad. I think a lot of times when I say bitter, people think it's bad, but I'm talking like earthy, espresso, like those kind of dark red
well, you
notes.
get closer to the end, so you're in the burns next to your mouth, so everything is going to amplify.
Typically, so that's typically what you find. And then when you smoke like this specific cigar, it gets sweeter to me, but it has like that it picks up the intensity, like the spice is picking up. It's like actually now that stimulation is coming back even with the drink.
Yeah. And
it just has like this sweet coating, I would assume from the Sumatra, that just mingles it together so it's not aggressive.
Yes.
But it's just it leaves like this thick creamy texture on your palate too. It's a very long finish, and again, like it's not burning too hot.
No.
Because that's the reason why we say decadent. You know what I mean? Like, at least, So how would you sell this to somebody, to a consumer that would come into the shop that's like, what is this? Tell me about this cigar. You know what I mean? Like, how would you sell this cigar to somebody who's never seen RoMa, doesn't know RoMa?
It would just, to me, it would be just one of those safe bets. Like, there's some cigars
fucking
that have.
Smoke it. You know what I mean? Just fucking smoke it.
Yeah. Like.
I'm going to try that next time somebody comes down to the walk.
So you fuck. You know what I mean?
No, it's like.
Smoke it. There you go.
It's one of those cigars where it's like, it would be easier to ask me what it wouldn't go well with than, what would the cigar go well with.
No.
And I think.
Well, here's the thing. That wouldn't work in his shop. I don't know if you ever worked in his store. Those guys are not friendly over there.
Really?
They're not.
You didn't think they were friendly?
They're not as friendly. No, I walk down and try to give a guy like, hey man, you want to try a cigar? No, I don't want that thing. Like,
a lot of the guys.
That's that one guy.
Yeah.
Some of the guys over there are kind of like
they didn't
really
even
like.
warn me. They were like, hey, stay away from that guy. They just let me go.
They just threw you to the sharks, man.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna go home. Fuck this, Like, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, that would just be kind of the sales. Like, if someone came in and they don't really know what they want, like, I would be comfortable selling this to a seasoned smoker that smokes, like we were talking. You mentioned Liga earlier, that smokes Liga Privada, or someone that comes in that smokes maybe Davidoff White Label, like a mild cigar, because it's gonna fit any palate.
It will appeal to a lot of people. I think even the Dominican smokers, right? Like somebody who's like, no, I like Dominican cigars. Like, dude, like even though there's I think it's very palatable. It's really broad. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of the cool thing about it. And I've seen a lot of shops actually tell me like, hey, it's really helped us pick up our intemperance sales. Yeah. Because like once you kind of get into that one, then it's like let me show you. Again, because a lot of people know Cro-Magnon, they know Neanderthal and Aquitaine, right? But for some reason, like this has helped people kind of draw them into, well, let me show you, let me walk you through the just smoke them in the vertical, right? Start off with the EC, then go to the BA, then go to, kind of go down it's crazy. It's really helped, right? So I'm excited for that. I really am.
It's funny that you said that because, they call me Pat Wente here just because I'm a huge Opus nut. Like, I smoke a lot of Dominican cigars. And that's why I asked you I forgot what the blend was again, but that's why I asked if the Ligero.
He's taking notes. He's trying to steal my secret. He's like, what was that rapper?
He's going to be blending something later.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to my guy after.
Yeah. But, when he goes on that factory tour, he's like, I know exactly what I want.
I want this and this.
Yeah. So I really like. I smoke everything, but Dominican's kind of like my go-to. And to me, like I was gonna say on the back third of this, when you said it wasn't Dominican, I wasn't gonna try to sound stupid, but it reminds me of a Dominican cigar. Like it has like that red, sweet spice that I get with Dominican cigars, and that's why I was almost certain that it was Dominican Ligero because it's like picking up power in the back third, and I feel like I'm smoking like a Dominican cigar right now.
Yeah.
And it's obviously not. So it's very versatile. Sure. And it would appeal a lot of people. So somebody that comes in and kind of, I recommend the RoMa Craft cigars probably every time that I'm in the walk-in. They're so versatile, like you said. Everything from the Connecticut to the Cro-Magnon, the Connecticut Broadleaf, the Whiskey Rebellion. There's a flavor for everybody there. Yeah. Plus, one of the things, not to cut you off, because just reminded me of it, about like it's selling in the humidor. One of the things I appreciate about RoMa Craft is the boxing and the packaging. Like I feel like a lot of brands nowadays put too much effort in the packaging and it kind of overshines the cigars. Yeah. Like RoMa, for one, I love that blocky box.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's almost like at Christmas when you pick up like a gift and it's heavier and
you're like, oh, it's something good.
So like the boxing, but then like the cigars with their branding and how much like intent you guys put behind like how that packaging looks, and especially the cigar, the bands, like it just pops. It just looks very like beautiful to a consumer, and I think it's eye catching, even though they're not, like neon yellow or neon orange or whatever.
And have a lot of gold or anything like that.
It just looks like a high quality product.
Yeah, the cigars, from the people that come day after day and buy RoMa Craft. They sell themselves. The price is right. Mm-hmm. The cigars taste wonderful, and it's just like you said, the profile of every cigar. You got the Connecticut all the way up to a full body cigar. They're there for everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're, like I said, great price range. It's hard to walk through a walk-in nowadays and see anything sub $10. The norm now is $12. And when you go over to RoMa Craft, it's like, well, $7.75, $8.25, like $10. What?
Well, what's funny is they're in since 2020. You've seen a lot of cigars pop even at that $20, $25 price point, right?
Yeah.
But there's been an elasticity of what people are willing to pay for a cigar. So you have some people that come in and they're like, oh, it's $8. How good could it be for $8? Because they expect to spend $20 for a good cigar, right? And then I started hearing people like, dude, like Rosales, I love the cigars. I love you. I love the brand. But why would I sell the $8 cigar if they're going to come into a bar?
And they're going to buy 12, 15.
Yeah. So it's like, they're only going to have one cigar and they're going to have 2 or 3 drinks. I'd rather sell them a $20, $25 cigar.
It's true.
And you know what I mean? So that was something that you were kind of fighting against through kind of the post-COVID, right? Yeah. Which really was, to me, like a disservice to the consumer.
Yeah.
Right? However, now that the market is kind of shifting and correcting itself and people are like a little bit more kind of conscious of where they spend their money, I'm like, you better start thinking about how you position your cigars and where you and again, I look at it like this, like anybody, listen, if they want to, spend because they think the price is better for them, great. But I still think you can sell them a couple of our cigars and be like, listen, if you want to smoke a cigar throughout the day and not really have a big fall off.
Yeah.
And then post dinner, you want to close with your expensive
$20,
cigar.
$25 cigar.
Because that makes you feel like you're balling. You know what I mean? Like, then, but you could sell that guy, he's going to come in and buy 3 or 4 cigars. So sell him two of ours and then, 1 or 2 of the ones that they're more common of. And then what's going to happen is they're going to be like, I really enjoy that cigar. And it just becomes part of the rotation.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
I think one of the things that we do well here, especially, is we're very cognizant of the consumer and like what they're willing to spend. And I think oftentimes we do find people that come in and they want to try something new, and they'll give us like, oh, I want to try something expensive today, and it's like, okay, well, we can show you what's expensive, but and the thing with RoMa, it's one of there's other brands, but it's one of the go-to brands for me where you can get a return customer because the entire line price point is very affordable. It's like your working man cigar, and when you sell, like someone comes in like, hey, I'll try, I want to spend $15-20 today. Okay, well, here's this cigar. They smoke it, they come back, now they want something else because they tried that one, and now the price point might be $10, and then when they get on the $10 range, now you're looking at kind of everyday smoke territory. And then you get them on, like, for instance, like a RoMa Craft, and then now you find that they stop looking for suggestions now. Then they're coming in and they're just sticking to that. And they're picking out, like, maybe they smoked the Volstead one day, and now they're just picking, we'll just say, like, maybe the Intemperance Connecticut one day. You're not even helping them anymore. They're just going through that line themselves now. So I found with RoMa Craft that happened a lot. Like when we had, like I was mentioning earlier, those variety packs of the Baca we had. It was probably like 2 years ago. It was before you left for the prison, but
yes,
you didn't go to prison.
I did not go to prison. I worked there. I was a correctional officer
for everybody
for
listening.
a year and a half.
That was when
he's an upstanding citizen.
I am, yes. Well,
that was when Paulie was here, and like people were smoking that variety pack, and it's like,
I mean, that
obviously
was a crazy
we ran
variety
out,
pack.
and then I had people come in and they're like, "Do you guys have Baca?" And that's the only cigar they smoke from RoMa Craft was Baca because of that pack, and I'm like, we sold out of them. We don't have any right now.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what else do they make? And then I was like, that was a Cameroon wrapper. So do you want to smoke a Cameroon cigar, or do you want to? He said, no, I want that brand. So then they're smoking that brand. Like, up to this day, those customers are still smoking.
Still
RoMa
coming
Craft.
back.
There's a lot of similarities in this. This is like a beefed up version of the Baca.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I mean, the Baca was. Man, that for me, that was probably one of the most flavorful Cameroons that I've ever had.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a good amount of, a good amount of Cameroons out there. I mean, Aladino makes Cameroon, which theirs is good too. I mean, Don Carlos, you got Christoph. I mean, Rocky Patel makes a Cameroon. But I mean, the Baca was just loud. Yeah. And it wasn't loud in a way where it was too powerful or there was something. It was just flavorful.
Yeah, I think
packed with flavor.
That's the big thing. I think your typical Cameroon cigar in the market is going to be more
subtle.
mild to medium, and it's going to be a really delicate cigar.
It will be,
and not that the Baca wasn't delicate, but it's not just the Cameroon. I think a lot of the Cameroon, because again, Cameroon is a prize.
Well,
leaf.
It depends on if it's a hybrid or if it's an actual African Cameroon.
Yeah,
and ours was African Cameroon.
Yeah, so that's one.
And there's not many people out there, or from my understanding, there's not many of them out there that do African Cameroon.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
And so that's why I think when a lot of companies use Cameroon, like that's really like, okay, we need a Cameroon cigar. So they're kind of blending that cigar just to like make that Cameroon shine. But I find, and we were speaking earlier about the, like you talked about like the binder and filler, it speaks to how well those tobaccos are because of the different wrappers you put on them. It's like that the Baca's of just the entire cigar is just good. Like it's not like, it's this is a great Cameroon cigar. You just say it's a great cigar. It's not just the Cameroon that's making you enjoy it. It's the entire blend.
Yep.
And it's, again, like I'm a huge Fuente guy, and I'll say, like, if it's between Baca or Don Carlos, like, I have to go with Baca. Someone's going to probably yell.
Well, you're still a student, so that has a lot to do with it while you're still in school, right? So, no, I'm just kidding.
No, the Baca
start
is
calling them RoMa
insane cigar.
Yeah. Well, so this is are we okay? We're not going to go into a commercial because this is kind of lengthy what I'm about to talk about. We good?
No, we're good.
No commercials?
Go,
okay, good.
Go for it,
All
baby.
right. So I don't know why my phone has decided to blow up on me. So so interesting kind of thing, right? So in cigar making, you talk about yields, right? So what's a yield? So we talk about how many pounds per 1,000 does it take. So if I want to make 1,000 cigars, I thought we silenced our phones. How many pounds per 1,000 would it take to do 1,000 cigars, like 1,000 cigars run, right? And then you can kind of do multiplication to do your run on that.
Yep.
Right. So in the Intemperance brand, for example, like it's a sub $10 price point. So as costs go up in the marketplace to buy tobacco, you still have like this overall kind of like, and again, the elasticity of what we can eat and absorb versus like what we can sell it for.
Yeah.
So anyway, so your tobacco leaf comes, it looks like a tobacco leaf. You take the vein out, turn it sideways. You got a half a leaf, right? So let's say, for example,
it's $34 to $35 a pound for Connecticut broadleaf, which is really expensive. Or even Cameroon's like, in that $36 to $38 a pound, right? For Cameroon, real Cameroon. And let's say it's going to be 14 to 16 pounds per 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Where like Connecticut shade, for example, is like 10 to 12 pounds per 1,000, and it's $21 to $24 a pound.
Yeah.
So it costs less, and it takes less to make 1,000 cigars.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Right? So you take your tobacco leaf, and you start looking at it, and you can go, hey, if I made Toros or larger, if you do the math, that might be anywhere between 85 cents to $1.15 just in wrapper leaf, just for the cigar.
Yep.
Follow me?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or I can do 5x56s. I can get 2 cuts. I can make 2 cigars out of that.
Yep.
And then I can put $7 to $9 filler leaf in there and pack that son of a bitch full of tobacco and make it burn just as long as I could a Toro.
Yeah.
Right? And hopefully that the consumer will recognize the value in that. Meaning, like, I'm looking out for the consumer that said, hey, I'm going to give you a cigar, a 5x56 that will burn hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes, depending on the smoke rate. I see guys smoke diggers in 30 minutes, right? They're just
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
But,
they ain't doing it for taste, though.
No, they're not.
Well, but essentially the idea is, I see guys that go in there and spend $25, $30 on a cigar that's very underfilled. I won't say any brands, but yet it's a high volume selling cigar.
We all know, though.
But yet at the same time, like, but again, the flavor is good. You know what I mean? So they like the flavor, but yet at the same time, like, that cigar is done in 25, 30 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's still it's longer, and people look at it and go, man, this feels good in my hand. You know what I mean? So it's like this, there's this conversion that has to happen. It's like, listen, I know you said it was firm, but think about, like, if that cigar is, because what people say is, like, I can't believe how well this cigar draws, right?
Yeah.
Like,
The draws on all of them are perfect.
They're,
Right?
Yeah, they're so good.
But that has to do with
Factory
how
of the
long
year.
that we age it and it dries out, right? So it has time to really kind of get to a point to where it's like the perfect amount of humidity, the perfect amount of firmness, right? Anyway, so that's a hard thing to do at the level that we're making cigars, because again, we only make 1 million cigars, right? So for kind of we're doing about 5,500 cigars, in a day. Drew Estate's doing probably 150,000 a day.
They're pushing them out.
Right, and that's not a knock. I'm just saying, like, the difference in the scalability and what they're doing versus what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to give, prime cuts of steak for the price of a hot dog. You know what I mean? And that's and so
That's a hard thing to do.
No, of course, right? You know what I mean?
But you're doing it.
Yeah, but then
You're doing it well.
But we don't have reps and brokers that are on the road.
Right.
We don't do a lot of marketing, so you can keep the cost down to offer a cigar that's value, and that's what you're hoping that you people, like, again, people who smoke a lot of cigars that are kind of knowledgeable recognize and realize that.
Yeah.
But then your average Joe is like, I just want a cigar, I just want a stogie. You know what I mean? Like, that guy's clueless. He doesn't give 2 shits. You know what I mean? Like, he just wants to cut a cigar and light it and go on. So, but you do it for the people that come in, like these guys come in about boxes. It's like, you do it for that, and that's the affirmation that you need. That you know that you're doing something where they're like, dude, I just love them. I can smoke this shit every day. It's like, my man. You know
There
what I
you
mean?
go.
Like,
Absolutely.
So it's fun. It's challenging. Like, we make this shit look easy. It is not easy, but it's a lot of fun.
So I have a question that goes from, unless you guys are about to do something.
No, I was gonna ask Dave, how's his scar going?
No one cares.
Pat, what's up?
I was going to ask, so I'm going to direct the question more to the consumer portion than the manufacturing. So you guys have the Weasel kind of ambassador program. So the only other brand that I know of that does a consumer ambassador program is obviously McAuliffe. So what was your thought on doing that? And I've seen a lot of success. I see a lot of the Weasel posts kind of putting out RoMa craft products. So,
well, one, it was organic. We didn't actually create it. So the Weasel comes from the trade show, actually. So back in like 07 through 09, you would see these guys that would create a blog. And they would come up and they'd be like, hey, man, if you give me a box of cigars, I'll do a review for your cigar.
That happens a lot at the trade show. I saw that.
Yeah, so number one, I look at it like this. first off, you don't need a whole box of cigars to do a review.
Nope.
If you maybe 2 or 3, but whatever. Number one. Number two, if I gave you any cigar, I think the human nature is to expect something of kindness back in return.
Yeah.
Human nature, right? However, if you went and you paid for it, then you can say whatever the fuck you wanted to. And you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't get mad because you spent your own money.
Right.
And this is something that's really important, right? So if somebody goes and they work a full week's worth of work, and they come in and they buy a handful of our cigars, like, that's a huge compliment.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it, right? So someone's making $15, $20, $25 an hour.
Yeah.
And they come in and they buy 3 cigars. That's 1 hour's worth of work for that person.
Yep.
To find enjoyment from a product that I make.
That's awesome.
That's heavy.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? Like, that I've never heard anybody else in the industry recognize or even think about what that means.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying, hey, pat my back, listen to me, like I'm the,
Right.
But at the same time, like, that's like the hugest compliment. Someone, whether or not they even know the names, they know the weasel, they know who we are or whatever, like they just like the cigar, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a huge compliment, and that means a lot to me, or to us as a from the culture that we're trying to create. So back to the weasel. So anyways, you would see these guys coming down, you're like, okay, here come the weasels. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause but here's the thing, there are levels to being a weasel. So there's like weasel, and then you got like like the uncle or the cousin that comes over that never smokes, but they see you smoking a cigar and they're like, oh,
yeah, let me get a cigar, man.
Let me see what you hold. Like that's weasel level number 4. You know what I mean? 'Cause so you got your little box of cigars that you'll never smoke, right?
Yeah.
So the reps and brokers that come in here, they're like, here, smoke this. You'll never smoke it, so it goes down,
way down,
right? So make yourself at home. It's like the bourbon. It's like, this top shelf shit, don't
touch that.
But this stuff over here, make yourself.
You can do the handles that are like $20 a handle. Yeah, you can go with that.
Knock yourself out. That's all you. Take some home with you, as a matter of
Yeah.
fact. I got so much of that shit. I don't even want to see it. So that's like that's one level of the game. Then you have this BOTL kind of group that says, oh, dude, hey, man, did you see, so and so dropped whatever? Yeah, I just got a box. Okay, and they just share and pass out. And then because they share and pass out, then you reciprocate. You pass them, some that you got on some special one-off release, whatever.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So you have this exchange. So that's another level of the weasel, right?
Yeah.
So the Master Jedi weasel.
The Master Jedi weasel.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like
explain.
Yeah. So you're like, hey, that's a cool box. You know what I mean? So they hand it over and like they crack the box open. They're kind of going through it. Like, oh, what's that taste like? You know what I mean?
Oh,
it's like, and then
little Jedi mind tricks.
Yeah, a little Jedi. Like, you can have that. You're like, are you sure? You know what I mean? Like, oh, yeah,
nah,
yeah,
you can't let me have.
Yeah,
all right, I'll take that.
Yeah, no, you know what I mean? So anyway, so that's kind of the fun thing about it. You know what I mean? But again, So what's cool about the whole thing? So I was at a cigar shop in Austin, which is where we're from, and Cynthia Fuente had come through.
Whoa!
So it was her and Wayne way back in the day. Carlito wasn't even really around back then. Like, I don't remember seeing. This is like maybe 2004, 2005. This is a long time ago. And Heroes and Legacies was the name of the shop. She came up. We're on a patio. And, back then, people were trying to cop the big deal back then was the Anejos, right? So anyway, so they come around, and anyway, so I was kind of fanboying out, hey,
yeah, of course.
So she pulls out this cigar. She's like, hey, this is from my grandfather, or who, whatever, and hands me a cigar, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool, right? So, and then fast forward, somehow someone gave me one of the wedding cigars.
Whoa.
That and I still have it actually, and so I thought that was really kind of cool. So long story short, Skip and I were working on the Fomorian in Nicaragua, and I'd come back to stateside, And you post some stuff. You kind of go on about your business. Again, you just post it because you're just kind of documenting like what you're working on, and you just kind of keep it moving. And somebody had pulled me to the side and was like, "Hey, man, I saw you guys working on this Candela thing. What's that taste like, right?" And I'm like, "Hey, bro, I got you." You know what I mean? So you pass it forward, right? You pay it forward.
Pay it forward.
And so that's when it dawned on me, like, people are really paying attention to the things that we do. You know what I mean? And that hit me in a way that I didn't. It was really this profound kind of moment in my life where I was like, wow, I didn't, and I'm grateful. And I'm grateful for all of them. The guys that came back over here that were like, it just kind of affirms what you're doing and that you're doing it the right way. And so that was really a cool moment for me.
That's awesome, man.
Sweet.
So what do you guys think of this cigar?
Yeah, final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I mean, it's a banger. For me, it's a banger. I mean, as soon as I picked it up, I mean, the first one, and then my favorite size of the Corona, I think the Corona is just so flavorful. That size.
The ribbon here, yeah.
That is just
that's
damn good.
It's an LE, by the way. I mean, meaning it's
Is
not
it really?
it's not. So, and real quick, 'cause I know you said, final thoughts, right? But everything in the Intemperance brand.
Yeah.
The 4x46, 4.5x52, the Perfecto, the 5x50 Perfecto, the 5x56, and the 5.5x54.
Yeah.
Those are core line sizes. So we
Okay.
make them in the EC, the BA, the Whiskey Rebellion, and the Volstead.
All right.
So the 4.5x60, the box press, the Noble Experiment, the Blind Pig, the 4.5x60. Those are kind of like one-off sizes that we do.
All right.
Kind of periodically.
All right, so then where the hell did the slobber knocker come out of?
That was a Skip thing. So I think so Skip back in the day was a huge.
That's almost got a closed foot too.
Yeah,
like
it's got a closed foot.
pinhole.
Yeah, so that's so like it's like the boxing matches back in the day. It's like, oh, it's a slobber knocker, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, and again, we don't make a lot of them. We probably do 250 boxes a year of the Cro-Magnon and the Aquitaine, and so. But that was kind of a Skip thing. He was a big, we watch boxing stuff together on the weekends or, when some big matches are going on. And so, anyways, and so, again, one-off sizes, but that's only done in the Cro-Magnon Aquitaine sizes.
Love the Cro-Magnon.
I would love to see that in a Neanderthal.
Oh.
You see the guys over green over in the corner.
I would smoke that all day long.
I'm trying to get him to do the H. So we do the HN size. I think we should do the genetic deformity.
Okay.
So the genetic deformity is the barber pole, which we have coming. We're in production right now, so you need, if you want to get them,
you got to talk to Danny so we can get those in here.
We got you. So, the Neanderthal has the Mexican San Andres wrapper, but on the genetic deformity we do the broadleaf, like half and half with that and the Aquitaine.
Ooh.
So it's called the genetic deformity, which was kind of this transition between like the Neanderthal into Cro-Magnon form, the early modern human.
Nice.
So. Could you imagine that shit in a fucking HN size, bro?
Oh, man.
Bro.
I'm already salivating.
Salivating just thinking about it, bro.
Yeah. So, but the problem is, like, people look at it and they're like, I don't see the barber pole until you hold up in the light because the wrapper leaves are so close together.
If you send us a box, we'll brew it on the podcast.
Would you?
Yeah.
Would you do that for me?
You got to send us a box. We'll review it on the podcast. We'll smoke it, We'll give an honest review.
3 or 4 per
that.
person.
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're laying down.
There you go, man.
So would you consider this a box-worthy kind of cigar?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Volstead is
okay.
Oh,
yeah.
It is so good. It is it's such a great addition to your wheelhouse. You know what I mean? It's because it's like this perfect all-day smoke.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd say it's easily a box purchase.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it already at the shop.
Oh, yeah.
Like
the
price point's right. It burns well. It lasts.
By far, between all the boxes that we have for sale, and we do 10% on every box. For all the boxes that we have on sale there, all of the RoMa Craft boxes are by far some of the best priced boxes that we have in the market.
Yeah.
Everything is under $200. Everything now is, $250, $300, $400.
Yep.
So, if somebody comes in, even if, and I've sold boxes where people were like, oh, I'll get a box of Rocky, or I'll get a box of this. Oh, where's this one? And it's RoMa Craft. And they go and buy that consistently.
That's awesome.
And it's a great thing, man.
Yeah, but
got a great thing going on.
One, we're very grateful with the staff and the buy-in from the staff, right? Because again, without you guys kind of affirming what it is, they come to you kind of, what am I smoking next? And then you guys put them on it.
Yeah,
right?
we get that a lot.
And then we do everything on the back end to make sure that it's repeatable and sustainable over and over again, which is super hard to do at the level that we do it at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, again, I'm trying to cut out all the prime and just work with that. So when we talk about, what's it taste like? It's well fermented tobacco, which is really hard to do. Getting tobacco right now is extremely hard to do. And then to put it out in the price point that we're doing it at is extremely hard to do. You know what I mean? So, but again, we do it for the people in the community.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's and then we figured out a way to do it at a price point that is still affordable, that we can take care of our staff and community and the people that work for us.
That blows me away every time I go and, fill another box or do some housekeeping, what we call housekeeping, just kind of fix the cigars. And just going by and just being like, man, I went from Tatuaje, which Tatuaje has some really reasonable prices.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, $9, $10, $12. And then you go over to RoMa Craft, and it's like everything's like sub $10, and it's like, damn, they're doing it, man.
Yeah.
And it's a crazy thing because, like I said before, I mean, where things are going right now, I mean, between the price hikes and stuff like that and the taxes that are being charged from you guys at that level, I mean, everything's going up.
Well, you think about, so how are we doing on time?
Oh, we're way over.
But that means we're doing good. We got there's a lot of
good combo.
We go as long as the conversation's good.
No. So I mean, think about it, right? During COVID, whenever containers were going through the roof, right? Now they've come down, but the people that grow tobacco have to get containers that go into Ecuador, that go into some of these countries that grow, and fertilizer and all the things that they need to produce that, right?
Yeah.
So even before it's like seedlings, there's cost hikes that happen at that level.
Yeah.
So to kind of give you a really good example, when we started making the BA, the Brazilian Arapiraca,
it
was $19 a pound, and then out of Brazil, and so they had changed from the U.S. dollar to the euro.
Yeah.
And overnight, it went from $19 a pound to $28, $29 a pound.
Wow.
Overnight. So just because of the euro exchange rate, right?
Yeah.
So now, and that was back then in 2012.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we've seen prices, dramatically
jump up over the years, yeah.
So kind of the cool thing that we do that I don't think enough people kind of pay attention to is like so in the past we had stopped production on the Neanderthal HN.
Okay.
Which was the San Andres. And so the Gustavo Cura had stopped buying the Mexican San Andres because they weren't processing it correctly. So they were doing like stock cut. So they would take it from the root, put it up in the barns, and then while it was up in the barns, they would start to pull the tobacco leaves off and process it through the curing barns with the roots up. And the problem with that is that by the time it would get from Mexico to Nicaragua to get processed and then kind of go into the fermentation, you had a lot of damaged tobacco. So they're like, it's not efficient enough. So eventually he ended up sending a team over there to show them how to get it done, to do it correctly, so that way it could be brought over to Nicaragua and then processed and put in pilons and then without a lot of loss. So there was a time that we stopped making the HN. This is the second time around that we've stopped making Cro-Magnon just because of and again, we anticipate it coming back, but we're not sure when. So in 2018, when the revolution happened, factories had kind of slowed down. So, we kind of dug into the pockets and bought a lot of tobacco at that time. And since 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23, we had Cro-Magnon as we know it. Every time you take something off the market and you reintroduce it, it's got to be the same or if not better than what it was, right? That's a key important part. Because people who smoke our stuff know the difference. Right?
Yes.
So this year, the Brazilian Arapiraca, so in 2020 when they shut down, they had longer kind of shutdown periods down in Brazil. So there was no one there processing and cultivating all so Marafina Norte, Arapiraca, these regions.
Yeah.
There wasn't anyone really down there. So whatever you had in your bodega was what you kind of had.
Yeah.
So this year, I think we kind of sold our last Brazilian Arapiraca probably early Q1, Q2.
Okay.
And so it's been out of production. So Cro-Magnon's out of production. The BA's out of production. So right now, what we're producing is the Connecticut EC, the Whiskey Rebellion, Volstead, Neanderthal, Aquitaine.
Yeah.
And so now what we're going to be doing is kind of 2024 Q1 is we're going to release the Cro-Magnon, and I think we're going to keep it under the Cro-Magnon umbrella. We talked about this earlier. So it'll be Pennsylvania Broadleaf, kind of an extension of Cro-Magnon.
Okay.
So anyway, so just kind of some little nuggets for the people that are listening this far into the podcast.
All right.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
Yes.
So a little,
you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not just blowing smoke.
Little news flash, So anyway, so that's kind of what's going on with us. So Volstead's been the hot new heavy thing. It's done really, really well. We're getting reorders on it, so we're super excited about that. And so, but again, without guys like you that are there, kind of help moving it along.
Yeah.
It's been great. So.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, we're going to wrap it up.
What do you think?
We appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you very much for coming by. Thanks for being on the podcast. Thanks for coming in for the event. And hopefully we get you in another event somewhere in the near future.
Yeah, I'd love to.
And happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas to you if we don't see you. If I don't see you.
Thanks very much, guys. Yeah.
Happy holidays. We got Dave and Confused, Pat Wente, Nicotine, and that's just not just blowing smoke. I am a terrible host. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.
See you next time. Stay smoky, my friends.
You've been listening to Not Just Blowing Smoke, the podcast that brings the wealth of knowledge, expertise, and fun of Twins Smoke Shop, New England's premier smoke shop, right to you, wherever you are, whenever you want it. You can find us at our website, notjustblowingsmoke.com, and keep in touch with us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at Not Just Blowing Smoke. Thanks for listening, everybody. And that is Not Just Blowing Smoke.